with the show after a break. We took last week off for Christmas and New Year's, right? Did we take it off for Christmas or did we take it off for New Year's?
Christmas.
Okay.
I took it off for the holidays.
Oh, you're so generic.
I mean, we played it Christmas Eve is when it actually...
Yeah, we played it Christmas Eve, and then we took off that week.
So Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right, who should sing the theme song? Did anyone make any requests? I don't even remember. Somebody made a request, but I don't remember.
It was so long ago.
It was so long ago.
Why don't you pick somebody?
I think it's a new year.
Maybe we should start a new trend.
I can start again. Okay, what's the new trend?
New
like
podcast.
Celebrity impersonations.
Well, that you're assuming that I have one right here.
Yeah, you have one.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. I did that, didn't I?
Well,
hey, it's a podcast. What do you know?
No.
Indian instead. Hey, it's a podcast. So there's no video except there is. Hey, see, I forget. I always forget that there is, and I need to change the lyric. Hey, it's a podcast. So lend an ear. The Phil Vischer podcast starts right here. We'll talk to Sky and Christian too.
Hey, everybody.
We don't got a guest, but Christian brought props here for you. Go wide, cut wide. There's the props. You can't see them if you're only listening on the radio. Hey, it's a podcast, so lend an ear. The Phil Vischer podcast starts right here. The Phil Vischer podcast starts right here.
That should be your new thing, is every week you do another ethnically insensitive accent.
Well, that's the same thing as doing my characters.
Pretty much.
There's no difference.
Right.
There's no difference than that.
I'm very curious as to whether or not anybody actually watches this, because, if nobody watches it, we should kind of stop it.
Why do we shower?
Right. I don't have to get dressed up anymore.
I didn't shave today.
Even though I may not look dressed up.
People watch it. Don't you, some of you, watch this and not just listen to it?
If you watch it, just let us know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious.
Shout out. Say, hey, I watch it and I like watching it. Watching it is my favorite. We have props today.
We do.
Kind of odd. First of all, Sky, what's in front of you, Sky?
The very first copy of Futureville has arrived on my doorstep. I only got one copy, though.
Otherwise known as Futureville. Why did they just send you one?
I don't know.
What's
Normally
the
they
point
send
of
you a
that?
whole box.
Yeah, you get a box.
Right, and I haven't gotten those yet, but I got one.
They're functioning on the skinny.
I was thinking maybe because this is the very, very first copy that I should autograph it and sign it to one of our listeners. But we got to come up with some kind of
we say that all the time. We say that all the time.
Some kind of...
Now somebody has homework.
Yeah, they have to do something.
You have to do something.
I don't know what they have to do.
They've changed the rules on Facebook for contests and things like that, so it might be easier now. Might be.
That was pretty vague.
I guess I should figure this out. I guess that's my job.
Okay, somebody's going to try to figure out if we can do a contest and give away the very first copy of Futureville. Discover your purpose for today by reimagining tomorrow.
Yeah, and I'll write in here, this is the very first copy or something.
This is the very first copy,
first
and
edition.
you have it. One of one.
Did you have any celebrity endorsements for this?
Let's see. Yeah, look at that.
Oh, is that Phil Vischer?
Phil Vischer. And I want everyone to know that before the show began, we read Phil's endorsement. We didn't say who it was from, and Phil just gave a scowl and said, "Who wrote that?"
I didn't scowl.
Yeah, you did. That's so ridiculous.
No, you truly were like, "Who wrote that?"
And Christian cracked up because she saw that it was Phil.
I said,
I
Phil
didn't
Vischer. You know who he
what
is?
I wrote.
How long ago did you do that?
Oh, it was long. 6 months?
Or did
4 months?
I don't know.
2 months?
Did your wife write it for you?
I have people for that.
You have people.
Yeah,
for
write something. Write something nice for this young gentleman. Give him a gift certificate to Kohl's.
That's what I usually give people.
There's a gift certificate to Kohl's. Buy yourself something warm.
Speaking of warm, it is currently 15 degrees below zero here outside the studio.
Feels like negative 40.
With 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts for an effective real feel temperature of 40 below is currently.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. School's closed.
That's why we're dressed so
School's closed tomorrow, too.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Office is closed.
warmly.
I had to zip this all the way up. Now I look like
You had a very interesting ride here, didn't you?
I'm Dita from...
Phil almost didn't make it. Did
Maybe
you?
touch your monkey.
I had to drive my daughter. My daughter's 16 and she's starting an internship at the Humane Society of Western Suburban Chicago, the West Suburban Humane Society, which is in a house that looks like It's like a homeless house. Like
That's
a
scary.
Homeless house. That's
Did you go
ironic.
in and make sure it was legit?
No, my wife had been there. My wife had checked it out. But it's like a little house that looks like you could put it on the back of a truck and carry it away.
That's scary.
And that's where the Humane Society of the
And
Western
what is she going
Suburbs
to do
is.
there?
She's going to intern.
What is she interning to do?
Play with kittens. She gets class credit for playing with kittens. It's like every 16-year-old girl's dream come true. So that's what she's doing, but I had to take her there, and it's quite far away. It's like a half an hour without it being 15 below, but it's slippery, and so we're coming down the street in front of our house and coming up to a really busy street, and I go to slow down, and the car's not slowing down. I'm just sliding, and I'm sliding towards this really busy street.
Did you have visions of you?
That's
like,
bad.
Pushing yourself out there going...
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had the only way to slow down the car was to ease it into the snow off to the side and use the snow to slow it down, which worked.
Did it work?
But it rendered us stuck along the side of the road. And so I tried to get the car out for about 10 minutes. And then finally 2 guys in a pickup truck came by and helped us out. So if you're those 2 guys in the pickup truck that helped me out of a snowbank this morning, thanks. And you get a free copy of Sky's book. Congratulations.
You know why that is.
We made it.
Hey, we just lost
Hey, I
sound.
lost power.
You did?
Yeah.
What?
We have
Can't hear
nothing.
myself or my headphones or anything.
Oh, great.
Did you hit that? There it is. We got it.
Oh, okay, you're
Christian,
back.
Christian hit the button.
Phil was
Christian hit the
Bill was just
button.
talking about moving this thing, and that's why.
Yeah, okay.
There's a control panel under here, people, if you didn't know.
Follow up from 2 weeks ago. The last one we did, was it 2 weeks ago we talked about Boghossian's book?
Yeah.
Was that 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
Okay. 2 weeks ago, we talked about the book, A Manual for Creating Atheists by Peter Boghossian of Portland State University. And I said what I thought he got right, and I said what I thought he got wrong. And then I got feedback from someone, a listener, apparently, who's a fan of Peter Boghossian and the book, who said, hey, you think you're so smart, fella. Why don't you have him on the podcast? So I reached out to Peter Boghossian and said, hey, would you like to be on our podcast? We started a conversation. He's a nice guy. He said, yeah, if I'm in the area, I could stop by. And I said, well, just call in, just Skype. I'll Skype you in. And he said, I don't do those. I don't do Skype interviews. I don't do call interviews. I said, okay. So he's going to be on the podcast the next time he's coming through Chicago. But in the meantime, I thought, I don't want to wait that long, though, because I think this is an interesting conversation. So I asked him if I could do something. I asked him if I could write up a couple of essays in response to his book and post them on my website, philvischer.com, and then send them to him, and he could read them and he could respond, and then whatever he wanted to respond with, I would also post on my website. And he said, okay, except I can't guarantee you that I'll respond. I said, that's okay. You don't have to respond if you don't want to, because it's interesting anyway. So I wrote the first one, and by the time you see this, it should be up on the website. Go to philvischer.com and read the first essay on the book, A Manual for Creating Atheists, which talks about the issue of faith and how we define faith and what is faith and what isn't faith. And you can respond to it, and then hopefully Peter Boghossian will also respond, and we'll have a very illuminating conversation about faith with a very prominent atheist author.
You know what?
And
I hope.
won't that be fun?
Well, I hope that the responses that we get there vary and are different and much better than most of the conversations that people have in
hopefully
response.
They'll be civil.
Yeah.
Well, if they're not civil,
And
we
thoughtful.
won't. We'll delete them. If you're not civil, we're not going to put your post up, because that's just not nice.
Yeah.
Civility is next to godliness. Isn't that the old saying?
It's not in the Bible, though. Well, I guess.
Civility?
Yeah, well, the quote.
I think love your neighbor as yourself is.
Yeah, that's
kind of
sufficient.
captures that.
That'll
doesn't
work.
it?
It's
Right.
semi-civil.
Yes, I believe that is
Yeah.
the foundation of civility.
Okay, Christian Taylor,
Yes.
you need to tell us about your travels, because something big happened. And first of all, maybe we should watch the video clip.
Well, first of all, I need to make a confession.
Hang on.
Okay.
You want to make the confession first? Okay,
Yeah.
make the confession
Okay,
first.
so first of all, I want to tell you all I'm sorry for not being completely forthcoming the last podcast. I told you that I had gone to Tennessee, I think, to film a movie called Military Moms, which in fact wasn't true.
Oh, my goodness.
I was doing something else.
What can we believe now?
I think we have to let her go from the podcast.
No,
Based
please don't do
on
that.
Moral turpitude.
That's
Come on,
right.
stand up for me,
Moral
everybody.
turpitude.
At least a 2-week suspension.
You have subjected us
I'm suspended indefinitely.
to public
right.
ridicule.
Oh no. Well, you know what?
Okay. Try to defend yourself.
It actually ended up being a good thing. And if you...
Why?
Well, because there was a super fantastic surprise for my family that was happening that I couldn't talk about.
Baby ducks?
It wasn't baby ducks, although I did have an encounter with some ducks over the Christmas break. We can talk
that's
about
true.
that
We'll
later.
talk about that next.
Yeah.
Okay.
But why don't you show the video clip?
Okay. Bill, the editor, is going to insert video clip here. Go.
I really haven't seen him since I joined the Army, not just the deployment. So I think that I actually get to spend time with him now. It's pretty cool. It's my mom, my dad, and then my 3 younger brothers. It's kind of like a family thing. They would normally watch the game every night that it's on. You know, they'd all sit down and watch it together. I don't think they've actually been to a Blackhawks game as a family together. So this will definitely be a first for all of us. We're outside at Gate 4, getting ready to head in. My family still doesn't know. We were about to cut for a commercial break, so that's when this is going to happen. They're sitting like right over there. I have no idea.
We just thought we were here to be honored. And so we were waving, and then his message came on.
I just want to say hi to my family from Afghanistan, let you know that I love you, I miss you, and I'll see you soon. Oh yeah, by the way, go Hawks!
I missed you. There's all.
Until a week or two ago, we've been talking to him, and we hadn't gotten a 2-week call that he was coming home. We hadn't gotten the 1-week call. You know, we had no idea what was going on. It's very emotional having him back for Christmas. We were worried that we wouldn't have him back by then, and knowing the whole family's going to be together and all the boys together, and that he's home safe after all this time is very special.
To be a part of actually giving them this kind of surprise is really, really amazing.
Not everybody gets a chance, obviously, this big to surprise their families. In fact, a lot of guys, specifically some people that were in my battalion, didn't get to come home at all. This isn't just about me or my family, or it's about everybody else that didn't get to come back.
Wow, that was amazing. How did that happen? Was that at a Blackhawks game?
That was at a Blackhawks game.
Was that a real Blackhawk game?
It was.
Or were you just all green screened into there?
Nope, it was a real thing.
And that footage has been seen like everywhere.
Yeah, and actually...
where has it been?
Well, the first night it was shown during the broadcast of the Hawks game, and that was December 23rd. And then the next morning it was on the Blackhawks TV channel. And then the same, like I guess the next day, the Huffington Post put it out, and it was on NBC and Good Morning America, and it just kind of went crazy. But the thing is, we had no idea that was going to happen.
That it was going to go viral.
We didn't know that it was going to go viral. We didn't even know that it was going to be filmed or shown. Yeah. And so what happened was we thought it was just going to be a surprise for those that were in the United Center, but mostly for my family. So
how did this happen?
Yeah, Hunter has been in Afghanistan for 8 months, and back in September or October, I started this conversation with a group of people that wanted to help Hunter, give him this surprise for his family. What that meant was, for the last 3 months, I had to completely deceive my family and everyone that, was around. And so I had to come up with a cover story, which was the movie. And, for that whole week, my family thought I was down in Tennessee filming a movie, but I was actually welcoming Hunter back.
Really?
And so I stayed there during the whole reintegration process. And then he got back on December 6th, and until December 23rd, had to lie to my family and everybody else. And so the night that it all happened, we were told that we got these free tickets because they were recognizing military families.
Yeah.
And so we got in fifth row and my family was all excited. And then second commercial break, they take us to this special place and just told us, just stand there and wave. And so just smile and wave, just smile and wave. So that's what we did. And then we saw Hunter's message on the screen. And, I told the producers that I was going to be a basket case and that you weren't going to be able to tell whether or not I was surprised or not. Because as soon as it started happening, I was just so overwhelmed that this was the moment and I got to see what was happening within my family. And it was super precious. And anyway, they were all completely surprised. I don't know how I pulled the wool over my husband's eyes.
Right.
That was a tough one.
Impressive.
It was. But and so it's been an incredible blessing. And, hopefully my family will continue to forgive me.
And what did you come away with?
Yeah,
you have a prop.
So afterwards, we got to meet Patrick Kane. So this is a signed puck by Patrick Kane.
Signed puck. See, if you're listening to this, you don't get to see it. So come on, play the video.
Pretty awesome.
You can see the puck.
Yeah, and if you miss ours, you can you can Google PFC Hunter Taylor and it'll just pop right up.
Google PFC Hunter Taylor.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we got to meet both of the coaches. I think one of the most touching things was when we were sort of down near the locker room, Coach Q, who is the head coach of the Blackhawks, and his assistant, Jamie, I have a hard time saying his last name, but it's like...
Moneypenny?
No, it's like Cone something anyway.
Is it French or Russian?
It's probably Canadian.
French-Canadian?
French-Canadian.
Coane, or I don't know. I'm so sorry. But he came up to us and was just so grateful for Hunter's service and gave us a tin of cookies Christmas cookies that his wife had made.
Oh my goodness.
And so we got to talk with them. And then afterwards we were talking with Patrick Kane, who was signing autographs and really talking to my boys. And Jonathan Taves walks by and he was just leaving. And I said, wait. And my kids told me, I said, wait, you're awesome. But I didn't remember hearing that at all. I was mortified that I probably said that. And he just was so gracious. And they, talked to Hunter and the rest of my boys and posed for pictures. But I was just really blown away by kind of their character and their kindness and their just, normal humanity. So that was very cool.
That's way cool.
Yeah.
And did Hunter enjoy it?
Hunter was a little overwhelmed.
Yeah?
Yeah, he is an introvert. He was just, once it all happened, I think it was more than he had kind of bargained for.
Yeah.
Like the idea of surprising his family was cool, but everyone in the United Center was crying and the players were all banging their sticks on. And I think it was just so overwhelming. And afterwards, people came up to him, were giving him hats and doing all sorts of stuff. Like people bought him things and gave him things and wanted to take pictures. Girls came up and gave him phone numbers. And, so he was just really kind of overwhelmed by all of that. Yeah. And then really overwhelmed the next day as we saw this thing kind of going crazy. Wow. What was really funny is he was reading all the comments on the Blackhawks page, and he sees this one, he starts busting laughing, and he's like, Mom, listen to this. And he starts reading it off from this girl who's like, oh, I've known Hunter, and we briefly liked each other, and this is so great. And I'm like, who is that? And he's like, Shelby Vischer.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So my daughter, my eldest, was leaving messages.
Yes, she was.
Joined the celebration.
She did. And other girlfriends sort of popped out of the woodwork, and he's been in stores around here, and they're like, oh, you're the Blackhawk soldier. So,
You know what the next step is?
What?
A book deal.
No. Reality TV show.
Reality TV show.
Then book deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's so not into that.
But your family is so colorful.
Our family's very
You're
colorful.
kind of like a northern Duck Dynasty.
We are so much like that.
You could be.
Yeah.
What is a northern Duck Dynasty?
It's kind of hick.
The Taylors.
Yeah, we're kind of like that. Kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. I've often thought, we would make this great reality TV show, except we have, we have introverts in our family. Oh. And they're not so into that.
Right, I guess so. But okay, so what else did you do? We have another prop.
Yes, we do.
Speaking of Duck Dynasty.
This is also an audio
prop.
It's okay. Yeah. Okay, so if you're just listening, see if you can figure out what this is.
What this prop is.
It's a junior high orchestra.
I have.
I'm not very good at it. I did take lessons online, but anyway.
What was that?
That was a Duck Commander duck call. And
wow.
This one was actually made by Cy and Jace.
No way.
Yeah,
wow.
it was. I learned from them at the Duck Commander warehouse that most of the ones you've seen in Walmart, I hate to disappoint you all if you've bought them, but they're made in China. And so the ones that are sold at Duck Commander. So this is the way this all went down. I have my autistic son, who's 14. He is obsessed with Duck Commander and watches them all the time and wants to meet them. He's always trying to get me to take them places. Well, my father drove up a car for Hunter during this time.
Right.
And so because of that, I had to drive him back home. And he lives in South Mississippi. And so we were down there, which is only about 3 hours from West Monroe.
So you're in the neighborhood.
We were in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Right.
And at the same time...
Could you hear the duck calls just
all the way,
into the
yes,
area?
I did. And West Monroe has changed a lot since this has all happened. I think they employ most of the town clearly in their warehouse, and they have a restaurant, Willie's Duck Diner.
Wow.
And so there's just lots of things that are related.
Theme park? Is this theme
It's
park?
probably coming. But anyway, so I drove my dad back. We were down there, and he was begging me to go. And so the whole Phil controversy had just happened. We just talked about it on here. And I thought, I'll go and see if I can get them to come on the podcast.
Right.
So my mission started.
And here they are now, the entire cast of Duck Dynasty.
They're not
here.
guest.
Didn't
so,
work.
I tweeted them and I Facebook messaged them and I wrote emails to their agents, and then I physically went to Duck Commander and talked to the person that was in charge of the store. Oh, by the way, the Duck Commander warehouse looks exactly the same as it does on TV, except if you look closely, there's a door right in the middle that they don't show very often. That's where the gift shop is. And so it's this huge gift shop inside. And what I am curious...
So on TV, the gift shop doesn't exist.
It's right. And what's interesting is it was New Year's Eve when we were there. And there were still, lots of people, not tons, but lots of people driving up, taking pictures all the time. I'm like, how do they film with all these people here?
Right.
Unless they just block it off and say, you can't go there while we're
filming day, you can't come visit.
Right. Except I didn't see any signs like that. And we went in, I met with the head of the gift shop, gave him a letter, which he said he would give to Al Robertson, who I guess is in charge of all of that.
Okay.
But
Isn't he the pastor?
He is the pastor. And ironically, he was in Naperville the last 2 or 3 days.
Which is 10 minutes from here.
10 minutes from here, yes.
Right.
So I left that message there, and then I decided, you know what? I'll go check the church, because at the very least, I can talk with the church secretaries. They'll be friendly. They'll be able to help me.
Yeah, if anyone would be good at talking to church secretaries, it'd be you.
It's me.
Yeah.
I know. They're my people.
Yeah.
So I did go to their church, and their office is tucked way back up there, but I just, walked on in, and they were so incredibly friendly, and ironically had seen our video, and the Blackhawks video.
Right.
Oh, wow.
It had circled
Not our video.
Right, not ours, no.
Your video.
You're big fans of the podcast?
They hadn't heard of the podcast or What's in the Bible or Jelly Telly, but now I acted as our ambassador and passed that.
VeggieTales?
They were all extremely thrilled about the VeggieTale thing, and still thought, you were running the show.
Sometimes you just have to appeal to the tomato.
That's how I started
to get the door to open.
Right. Yeah. I always did have to say, now you've heard of VeggieTales, right?
Yeah.
Because most people don't even know your name, out there.
Yeah.
You got to get your tomato in the door.
Right. Very funny.
Thank you.
So they were super friendly, and once they knew I was working for you, they said that they would pass along the message to Al. But of course, I haven't heard from any of them. I wouldn't hold your breath. I don't think they're
I'm not holding my breath or my duck call.
I'm breathing, especially on a day when it's 15 below zero. If you hold your breath, you'll just go right down.
Mm-hmm.
That would be
just
bad.
Straight down.
So anyway, that's my surprise.
Wow.
That's my story.
Adventures.
Yeah. Lots of very exciting
Phil, where did you go?
Did you feel like
Christmas
a stalker
break?
at any time?
I totally felt like a stalker.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
I wonder how many fans have showed up at the church.
Oh, a lot. And the fans themselves, the church themselves has tons of fan mail, as well as, the store and the people. It truly is insane.
Speaking of which, we didn't actually do this follow-up story. A&E changed course.
They reinstated Phil.
They put him back in.
They did.
They backed down.
I mean, of course they did. I knew the family was
suspended him for 2 weeks from filming, in which there was no filming.
Right.
Well, they suspended him indefinitely, and then they unsuspended him.
Right.
But before it had actually affected.
But there was no filming because they had already the whole next season in the can. And so they weren't even filming in the first place.
So, is this just kicking the can down the road? Is this an inevitable flare-up going to come again? And
it's really hard to interpret what happened there. Variety said that the whole kerfuffle left A&E with egg on their face. The duck flap left them with egg. That they basically, the network looks stupid.
Yeah.
Because they took a position based on principle and then they untook it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Based on money.
Yes.
Right.
And the way they're saving face is we're going to run some PSAs about tolerance.
Right.
On the network, all over the network.
Okay.
So we're going to become very identified with the idea of tolerance, but we're going to keep showing Duck Dynasty.
But you know, it's interesting. When I was down there and I did talk with the church ladies and, you know, other people, they all speak so highly of how compassionate and loving the Robertson family are and not judgmental. And, you know, they still are going to church. Phil and Alan preach there whenever they're in town. And Phil teaches a Sunday school every week. And they really talk about his character that way. And they do say he calls what he feels the Bible says is sin.
Right.
But he loves anyone, you know,
I think
and
that
everyone.
The whole episode just highlights the widening gap in the culture between blue state, liberal, democratic kind of identity and some red state, southern.
Some had talked about just the notion of backlash and how, for example, you know, the head of Howard Schultz, the head of Starbucks, was going to speak at Willow Creek, and there were 700 signatures on a petition for him not to, because Willow Creek technically is anti-gay marriage, and so it was a campaign, so he shouldn't do that, and so he quit. He said, "I'm not going to go there."
Wow!
It only took 700 signatures to do that, and there were 200,000 signatures to get Phil Robertson reinstated. You know, so some people compared, wow, so Howard Schultz is out of Willow Creek because of 700 signatures, but it took 200,000 to get Phil Robertson.
It's not about the number of signatures, though. It's about the organizing power behind those signatures and their ability to persuade and influence the economics. So if you have highly engaged networks of people with finances and foundations and the ability to pull strings in Hollywood or advertising, that 700 names makes a big difference.
I don't think Howard Schultz was worried about losing money.
You think he was worried about his perception?
I think it was the brand perception of Starbucks.
I think it was the perception of we're on the wrong side of history.
Yeah, which ultimately has an economic...
So is he a Christian? He was speaking there as a believer?
No, they bring in leaders to do their leadership summit.
And that was it?
Yeah, he was just going to speak as a leader at their leadership summit. And it's the same thing as Bob Newhart doing he was supposed to headline an event for a Catholic group. And there was a campaign that you shouldn't because of this Catholic group's strong position against gay marriage. And so he pulled out of it. So the notion is it's the successful equating gay marriage with civil rights, you know, with African American rights, and saying this is the same thing. So therefore, if you're against gay marriage, it's like being against equal rights for African Americans back in the 1960s. Is that what you want to be? And very few people, when it's presented that way, will say, yes, that's what I want to be.
Right.
So people just cave. And without really saying, are you sure that you're equating this properly? Are you sure this equation makes sense? And in the case of A&E, you know, it's so much of the current culture in Hollywood to accept this connection between civil rights and marriage equality that they can't even really conceive of any other way to look at the issue. So you're on the wrong side of history if you associate with someone who is against gay marriage. And so A&E just assumed, this is where America's going. This is what America believes now. And then found out that America hasn't quite gone there as quickly as they're supposed to have gone.
Well, and I do think the biggest craw or thing in craw, and what is it? The biggest
stuck in your craw.
Yeah, the biggest thing that was stuck in everyone's craw was that they felt like he should have the freedom to express his own personal beliefs.
Right. He does.
Right, without having
without
huge
any economic repercussions,
backlash. Well,
is that what you're saying?
Look, they hired him as who he is. He is who he is.
I don't think they hired him because he doesn't support gay rights.
No, they hired him because he's the kind of person
funny hillbilly.
He's a funny hillbilly that, is...
But they shouldn't. He shouldn't actually speak his mind in GQ. I mean, you should understand what the cultural mood is.
I think what people have gotten hung up on is he does have every right to say whatever he wants, but the fact is we all have to face the consequences of our decisions, our actions, and our words. And for A&E, they had as his employer the right to fire him if they wanted to. But at the end of the day, economics ruled this, as I say over and over and over again.
Well, they did not need A&E. They just didn't.
Right, they didn't, which is why A&E caved.
Needs them, So that's...
Okay, is there a future to atheist churches?
I didn't think there were atheist churches.
We've talked about this on the podcast before. I know.
I'm just playing, the devil's advocate.
The world's most voguish, though not its only, atheist church opened last year in London to global attention and abundant acclaim. So popular was the premise that soon the Sunday Assembly was ready to franchise, branching out into cities such as New York, Dublin, and Melbourne. But nearly as quickly as the Assembly spread, it split, with New York City emerging as organized atheism's, what's that word? Avignon? It's something about the Reformation.
Sounds like water.
No. That has to do with the split in the Catholic Church.
The schism.
The schism in the Catholic Church between Rome and Avignon.
So basically the first big chain of atheist churches has just had a church split, which Sky thinks is hilarious.
I do think it's hilarious.
Sky?
I do.
Tell me why.
You had 3 reasons why you think it's hilarious.
Which I thought were pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
You sent them to us.
Yeah, but I don't remember. I sent them so I wouldn't have to remember.
I'll get them. I'll read them. No. Let me read them.
You can't remember your own text.
I can read them.
I think I tweeted that in bed this morning.
Let me say. All right, this shows many things. 1, atheism is a religion too. 2, complaints leveled at Christian church are not the result of Christianity. And 3, everyone is petty.
Yeah. So, one of the things you hear that are levied against Christians is there's so many denominations and you guys don't agree on anything and you split left, right, and center. And that's certainly true. But it's not unique to Christianity.
Right.
Humans do this all the time.
Well, shouldn't following Jesus eliminate that?
Yes, in a way it should. But it's just human nature that we don't get along with each other, and sometimes we break ranks and we split up. And sometimes those splits are over very legitimate and important things, like slavery is an example of the church splitting in America. In other cases, it's not very important. But what are the atheists splitting over?
What are they splitting over?
They were splitting over the use of the word atheist.
Okay, tell us the two sides.
The Sunday assemblies want to de-emphasize. They want to be unreligious more than they want to be atheist.
Sort of non-denominational atheists.
Yes, They want to be, someone described it as big tent atheists. They want to be big tent atheists and not mention that word so much.
So can you be a theist and go to a Sunday assembly?
Yeah, but none of the songs are going to make sense.
What are the degrees of atheism that
I don't think there are very many degrees.
Yeah, that's what I can't get.
Because you're a black belt. You just there you are.
Yeah.
Ta-da! I'm a black belt.
Okay, so hang on.
So, and the other guy said, wait, this is what we're all about. We are all about promoting atheism. So I guess that's the issue. Are we promoting atheism or are we creating community for non-believers?
So the difference is one wants to be a community church for non-believers of all forms, and the other are fundamentalist atheists.
Where the focus is, we are focusing on being atheists.
So which ones would be headquartered out of Rome and which ones out of Constantinople?
The atheists would be out of Rome.
The hardcore?
Yeah.
Would be Rome, you
They're
think?
like Orthodox.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Orthodox is out of Constantinople.
Oh, well.
All right, I think you guys are crossing your schisms here.
Set it straight, Sky. Please.
So that's. But the other point is atheism is now a religion.
Why?
Because when you have structures of authority, and you have schisms, and you have congregations, and you have semantics and arguments over words and doctrines, and this is a religion. And the other thing I read in that article is,
but aren't there moose lodges that have split?
Yeah, but the
Aren't
difference
there
is
Rotary clubs
some of
that
those
have had disagreements?
Yeah, but the difference is they're basing their identity on a fundamental belief about the nature of the universe.
Right.
Which sounds a lot like a religion.
Yeah.
So,
the Moose Lodge believes in the great moose in the sky that bequeathed the earth on its antlers.
Is that the flying spaghetti moose?
Yeah, I think so.
You're making that up. I'm not even buying that. Look, here's the deal. You know what? Religion is a man's way of worshiping the divine. That's what religion is, technically,
Maybe.
right?
There are many definitions.
Yeah, there
religion.
are a lot of definitions. But that's one, certainly.
Okay. Or let's not say worshiping the divine, but worshiping anything. And truly, they're either worshiping community
is your shirt religious? Your Blackhawks
Some would
jersey?
say yes.
Well, Paul Tillich.
Some would say yes.
Paul Tillich was a theologian back in the day, and he made the argument that all human beings are religious, because in his definition, religion is that which is of ultimate concern. So whatever you have ultimate concern for, that is what you are devoted to. That's what you worship. That's your religion.
What you spend your time on and your money on and your thoughts on.
Words. That'd be like saying that faith is a way of knowing things.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But if you remember, there was that case where, what was it? Somebody was seeking tax-exempt status.
Yes,
for
the Freedom from Religion Foundation in Wisconsin was not seeking tax-exempt status. Actually,
they didn't want it.
The IRS told them they were eligible for it, and the leader of the organization, they said that she could actually get a housing allowance like a minister because they said she qualified as a minister, and she was deeply offended.
Well, it's like Harvard has a humanist chaplain.
Right.
An atheist chaplain.
And there's a movement for the armed forces to have secular chaplains and atheist chaplains.
That's kind of like, isn't it like a paradox or like an anachronism to have
I think it's a therapist. Isn't it just a therapist at that point? Unless it's about like leading organized efforts, and then it's a camp counselor. Like we need to have meetings and sing songs.
In either case, whether you're talking about Islam, Christianity, Roman Catholicism, Buddhism, Hinduism, atheism, they are organizing principles in the way you view yourself in the universe.
Right.
And some of them say there's one God, some of them say there's a Trinitarian God, some of them say there's thousands of gods, some say there's no God.
Yeah.
But when you start organizing into congregations with leaders and preachers and ministers and doctrines and practices based on
ideology about
Buddhism is an atheist faith. There's no deity in Buddhism, really.
Right.
So
I thought there was Buddha.
Buddha's not a deity.
He's not a deity.
He's just an enlightened being.
A fat, shiny guy.
So
all I know is you rub his tummy and, something's supposed to happen.
Unicorns come out his ears.
Oh, gosh, you guys are going to offend people now.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Our Buddhist, our Buddhist audience is very important to us. We love you all.
I'm sorry. It's my ignorance. Remember, I'm a Northern Duck Dynasty family.
It's not a matter of Buddhist audience members being important.
She's our resident Yankee hillbilly.
Yeah, right. That's me.
It's not about Buddhist listeners being important. It's about our Buddhist neighbors are important. And therefore, we want to respect that.
That's right. You are right. And I do.
So, all right. Anyway, my point being,
don't come out of his ears.
If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it can be shot like a duck.
Duck commander.
It's a duck. And everything they're doing is a religion. And it's a religion.
Yeah. What is the difference between religion and philosophy?
Religion is a man-made system of worshiping something. And a philosophy is how you think about things.
A man-made system for thinking about something.
I think actually this is one of the bigger challenges facing the culture legally and politically.
Yeah.
Because you look at the healthcare mandate, exemptions for religious organizations, things like that is, well, what is a religion?
Right.
So I don't have a clear answer for what's the difference between a religion and a philosophy. You should ask your brother. Maybe he knows more on the legal front.
I assume most philosophers would say, well, religion assumes the divine. But that's technically not true, because there are some religions that don't.
That's right.
But is Buddhism really a philosophical system, not a religious system? Are you trying to control the universe in some way?
Yes.
Are you seeking control?
Yeah. You are seeking to determine your destiny.
Okay.
In the universe.
Is there supernatural in Buddhism?
There, in some strains, yeah. In Tantric Buddhism and other things, there can be.
Okay, so is supernatural a distinction?
Well, first of all, you got to remember that natural versus supernatural is a Western paradigm.
Right, and it's relatively new.
And it's not an Eastern idea.
Right.
As Buddhism occupies.
Wow, this is so complicated. What if... we'll talk more.
I'm sure our listeners will write in and set us straight.
Yeah, tell us. What do you think religion is.
Let's look it up. Maybe there's a definition online.
Oh, I'm sure there's a gazillion definitions.
You know, if we only had something we could just type in and it would appear.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
My web's not working. Is your web out?
Yeah, our web's out. It froze.
Thanks
the internet has frozen in Chicago.
Wow.
Literally frozen. There's a guy with a torch trying to thaw out the internet. He's somewhere underneath the loop in a basement
Did
somewhere.
you guys hear that they were closing highways?
Yes, they closed
all around.
80, 90, 94, and
30.
65.
Because it's cold?
And the wind.
Because of the ice?
Wind, wind.
And then
blow
the wind
truck
blows
off-road.
Right. Well, it blows the snow, which
Snow
gives
drifts?
you no visibility.
Oh, well, that makes the wind and all that
Blowy
makes sense.
snow.
Just cold
You've
by
got
itself.
blowy snow. You've got drifty snow. You've got big truck. Bad combination. Trucks fall over.
And small little cars.
And small little
beep,
beep.
Like yours.
Yeah, and you know, like in the movie Cars, when there's that little minivan with the mattress on the top going, that's what trucks are doing right now going down I-65.
Got it.
You know, but I got to tell
they're
you,
hanging
my
on the
husband,
edge.
as we sit here, is texting me pictures of La Jolla, California.
Yeah, your husband's in La Jolla.
Yeah, stuck
That's great.
there because he can't get back to Chicago. And let me just tell you that I hate them right now. I mean, these pictures, it's bright blue, sunny, sunshine.
How often do you get to drive around in 15 below zero?
I had to
it's
officiate.
Not that often.
I had to officiate a wedding 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And
who won?
Well, that's how they do divorces. It's not how they do weddings. Anyway, the groom was from Ireland, and his family, much of his family came in from Ireland, and they'd never seen snow like this before.
Yeah.
And
that isn't green like in Ireland.
Yeah, the snow's green.
I gotta go shovel.
They don't have snow in Ireland?
Well, apparently not of this quantity.
Okay.
And I felt bad because they were all supposed to fly out today to go home, and the airports are shut down, and I don't know, they're not prepared for this kind of cold.
No, they're not.
They must just be staying
They
inside.
just need to stay inside and huddle together and burn Lucky Charms.
Yeah. Okay, what's next on our list of things to talk about?
Next on our list. Oh, there's something going on in Kentucky. Have you heard about it?
No,
Don't
please
let me tell you.
I like that accent. You should sing as an Irishman next time.
Hey, when Irish eyes are smiling. Ken Ham. You know our friend Ken Ham?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the
oink oink.
He's the king of young Earth creation.
Now, hang on a second here. You're going to
Did you say oink oink? Did you say oink oink? Like my Buddhist comment was bad?
You are the pot calling the kettle black.
His name is Ham.
I would love to have unicorns come out of my ears. That would be a spiritual experience. But to say oink oink.
His name is Ham.
We got to call you on that, though, pal. I mean,
you're lucky he's not Jewish. Because that would be over the line.
Come on now.
If his name was Duck, I'd go quack quack.
Ken Ham.
What about Ken Ham, Phil?
Let's hear it.
He's holding a debate. One of our listeners sent this in. Actually,
with John Walton?
Several of our listeners sent this in. Ken Ham is holding a debate on February 4th at the Creation Museum in Kentucky, and he is debating Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Ooh.
You know Bill Nye the Science Guy?
I've seen him online.
Yeah, so Bill Nye the Science Guy ruffled some feathers in creationist circles a year ago, 2 years ago, because he filmed a video to put on YouTube basically saying people have to knock it off with all this creationist stuff because it's messing up science. That you can't do science if you're teaching kids that the Earth is only 6,000 years old.
And his emphasis was really on public school education.
Yes.
Concerns that evolution is being taken out of the curriculum in some states.
So a debate with Mr. Nye, nationally known for his children's TV program and for promoting evolution, will be one of our major events in 2014 to highlight how children and teens are being influenced by evolutionary thinking. Ken Ham said. This is where I think it's interesting. The specific topic for discussion has been selected as, quote, is creation a viable model of origins in today's modern scientific world? Unquote.
Is creation a
viable model of origins?
Let me do some predicting. Let me just predict.
Okay.
I predict that Ken Ham is going to say it is. And that Bill Nye is going to say that it isn't.
End of debate.
What do you think?
You know what I predict?
What do you predict?
I predict that after it's over, the fans of Ken Ham will declare him the victor, and the fans of Bill Nye will declare him the victor.
I will make another prediction.
Okay, go ahead.
That the fans of Ken Ham are going to send him more money.
And I'm going to make another prediction.
What will Bill Nye get?
He'll probably get more publicity also.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going to predict that all the debate, once they post this online, is going to be very voracious. and not very nice.
And the comments posted?
Yeah, the comments are going to be pretty awful.
Yeah, well, I got a big problem.
But you're right, the comments are going to be
I got a big problem with this right off the bat.
Big problem.
Yeah, I got a big problem with this. It's a linguistic problem.
Oh, you and your linguistics.
Yeah. Is creation a viable model of origins? No, it's not, because creation isn't a model of origins. Creation is just a word to describe the universe if you believe there's a creator.
You mean creationism?
That's what they mean, right. Yeah. They did, but they didn't say that. And this is the official statement on what we're debating.
Is creation.
So basically, they're saying, is the universe a viable model of origins?
Okay, it's probably just misworded.
That don't make no sense. Yeah, but it's the official statement to set the terms of the conversation. They can't even get that right. How are they supposed to debate?
Then they officially made a mistake. So, okay.
But even if they said, what it should say is creationism a viable model of origins? But even that would be misleading.
Why?
Because when you are a creationist, okay, you could be a theistic evolutionist. You could be a young earth creationist. You could be a day-age creationist. You could be a gap theory creationist.
There's that many?
Oh, yeah. There's like 10 different breeds.
I had no idea.
Creationism.
You could be a sandwich creationist at Subway.
You could, although you probably wouldn't win the debate.
Right.
Because you'd be talking in the wrong terms.
But I agree.
And this is
what do you agree with?
Go ahead.
I agree. All that stuff.
Go ahead, Mr. Smarty Pants.
I'm not saying Smarty Pants.
Buddha.
I'm trying to understand what they're actually going to do. I'm assuming that what's up for debate is Ken Ham's particular vision or view of creation.
And which kind is he?
So he's a young Earth creationist.
Young Earth creationist.
Specifically, he's a creation scientist. So there's a creation science is a very specific strain of creationism.
How does that happen?
We've talked about it before. It was initially proposed in Seventh-day Adventist circles around 1900, but didn't take off until 1960 when a specific book was written to promote scientific creationistic scientism. And the premise is really about using the idea of the global flood to explain all of everything we find in the fossil record. Everything we find in the
layers of sediment, all the fossils, is all a result of
it's all about the flood.
Flood and Genesis.
Dinosaurs, skeletons, everything is all about the flood.
Well, creation happened before that.
That is creation.
Yeah, but it explains.
Yeah, but it explains the fossil record.
What they're trying to do is say that the predominant scientific view of the origins of the universe are largely developed from the historic fossil record and the layers of sediment that say the Earth is so many billions of years old.
And further down you go,
what they try to do is say, no. The way you should really interpret that fossil record and all the layers of sediment is as a result of a massive worldwide flood, which happened not millions of years ago, but just a few thousand years ago. So they're all looking at the same evidence.
That was the idea.
And interpreting it differently.
Really, that caught on because of one book published in 1960 called The Genesis Flood.
Okay.
And it was by a hydrologist and a geologist that we're talking about. Well, couldn't this dynamic, couldn't what we see in the fossil record also be explained by a massive deluge of water that killed many animals and somehow they settled into distinct layers? So what this really should say, and this is what bugs me, what this really should say is creation science a viable model of origins in today's modern scientific world?
They should have hired you as an editor.
What it should say. And the problem with it is that it implies, because this will go out, this will be publicized and mainstream journalists will pick it up.
But nobody thinks about this like you do.
I know. And that is the problem because what's happening is that the Bible is being connected exclusively to creation science and young earth Oh, that's my phone.
I was like, what the
phone's vibrating.
How come I'm the only one who knows how to use airplane mode?
I turned mine on airplane mode.
It was in my pocket, but my wife was calling me, so I took it out. I'm sorry, I'm putting it back in my pocket. How come you say how come instead of why?
What is up with you in this linguistics kick you're on?
And yet he's the one throwing isms and asms and ists all over the place.
I don't know how in the world I managed to keep up with either one of you. That really boggles. What am I doing here?
I just want people to say what they mean, what they really mean.
Why?
Do you really want me to say what I really think, Phil?
No, that's not what I said. That is not
Why? Why is that important to you?
Because there's false association here being made that convinces kids if you are a Christian and you trust the reliability of the Bible, you have to ascribe to young earth creationism and creation science. You have to.
That there's no alternative.
And it's this mislabeling that does that, so that kids end up bailing out of Christianity and or bailing out of science because they don't see a way
to put them together.
And that's what, it's what guys like John Walton are trying to work against. It's what guys like Francis Collins and BioLogos are trying to work against, is like these things are not as diametrically opposed as some people want them to be.
I think we ought to try to get Ken Ham and John Walton on this podcast or together.
A church tried to get them together, and Ken Ham refused to come. So
that's, I think, really fascinating, because it's one thing for Ken Ham to say he'll debate a scientist, but he won't debate a Bible professor,
a Bible scholar.
And the point being that John Walton's interpretation of Genesis, rooted in the understanding within the cultural context and history, is very different than what Ken Ham wants to think. So he'll argue with people outside the fold of Christianity about science, but he won't talk to Bible scholars about how to actually interpret Genesis.
And that's an interesting issue, because when you're a warrior, when you're fighting a war, you want a specific enemy. You want to, if you're Jerry Falwell, if you're James Dobson, you want an enemy, and you want a clear contrast with your enemy, because that fuels your war, and raising funds for your war, and getting people excited about your war. And when the waters get muddy, and suddenly maybe that isn't the right enemy, and maybe this isn't even the right war to fight, suddenly it's really terrifying.
Right.
If you're a culture warrior and you suspect that you may not be fighting the right war. And that is a concern about the more rabid elements of the
maybe he was just
camp.
Busy.
No, he actually, I won't come that night, I'll come the night after. So he actually came to the church, but he refused to come on the same night that John Walton was coming. Because then they would be together.
Have to discuss things.
Yeah, I think the exact quote was, "I won't share the platform with that man."
Wow.
I believe was the exact quote. So anyway, in the name of everyone getting along with everyone else, what else was there to talk about? Oh, the last bit of news. This is fun. Filmmaker Kevin Smith. You don't know who Kevin Smith is.
Tell me who he is.
He's popular with fanboys. He's kind of a fanboy appealing.
What is fanboy?
Like comic book people.
Yeah, Comic-Con. He's big at Comic-Con.
I've never heard fanboy before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
Star Wars nerds.
Yeah,
comic book people.
He made the movie Clerks. And
I remember
Clerks
hearing about
2,
that movie.
And he's going to make Clerks 3.
Those are kind of bad movies, aren't they?
They're very off color.
They're not very wholesome.
Extraordinarily off color. His next movie, and he actually stopped making films. He said it's too hard to make films.
He's a big podcast
From
guy,
now on, I'm just going to podcast. So he started podcasting instead of making films.
Oh yeah, it makes a lot of money.
Like you. But now he's getting back into making films, because apparently you can't make a lot of money podcasting.
Really? I would have never known that.
So his next film is, here's the plot. Then this is fun. This is a very interesting plot line. It is about mankind teaming up with hell to save existence from extinction at the hands of a rapturing giant Jesus.
Wow.
That's going to get some publicity.
I guess
or not.
That's the way you do it if you need attention. So Jesus is coming back,
and he's the bad guy,
to end history, which therefore makes him the villain from this perspective. You want to end history. We don't want history to end, so we're going to team up with hell.
Oh.
Apparently hell is an entity that one can team up with.
Well, it's like a nation. Like we're going to
There you go with logistics again.
Yeah.
Linguistics.
Yes.
Logistics. That's UPS. You're thinking,
I don't know.
Oh no, my ukulele's out of tune. Oh no, what happened? I can't wrap up the show.
You can do it without your ukulele.
Oh no, what do you want me to sing about? Which one?
Which one?
Yeah, pick a top.
Duck Commander.
Wow.
I did that last week.
You did?
2 weeks ago. Whenever we talked about Phil the last time.
I think I do
Blackhawks.
Atheist schisms.
Rhyme with Blackhawks.
Rhyme with schism.
What do you know? The atheists can't get along. They can't agree on singing their atheist songs. So they gotta make different churches and have an atheist schism. Oh, I gotta come up with the right for schism. That is gonna be so much fun. Just like us, they appear to be human. And that shows up in lots of ways. I'm assuming that if you are human, you may have troubles not schisming along. Can I use schism as a verb?
You just did.
Skiz.
This is my schisming song, and you can sing along.
As long as you do it out of tune.
Does that sound great?
Oh, my goodness.
So, we'll see you next week. Bye,
everybody.
Thanks for coming back.
Thank you for ending that, Phil.